I have chosen extroversion and introversion for today. The meaning of extroversion, I mean, the psychology means an extroverted disposition. And then it means it concerns with what is outside the self. Introversion is the state or tendency toward being wholly or predominantly concerned and also interested in one's own mental life. Okay, there are some questions here. For example, extroverts are outgoing and introverts are shy. Okay, I'm changing this questions to a statement. For example, extroversion relates to how outgoing someone is, and introversion is the same as being shy. The answer, the clearly answer is not exactly. I'm going actually through exactly to these questions to reach answer generally. Actually, these are kind of, general perceptions about extroversion and also introversion. Extrovert, which actually the original spelling of extrovert and introvert, sorry, is extrovert and introvert. Instead of when we say extrovert relates to original spelling, but now we have extrovert and introvert anyway, where popularized by Carl Jung in the early 20th century. Unfortunately, their meaning got confused between the time until now. And the researchers started thinking that everyone belongs to one camp or the other. But actually, Carl's point that these are the very actually extremes of a scale. It means the most of us fall somewhere in the middle. And then there is actually quote here exactly from Carl. There is no such things as a pure introvert and extrovert. There are a few, theories about the differences between introvert and extrovert, and some recent actual research has been shown that our genetic makeup has lots of to do with which tendencies are strongest in each of us. This theory is different to the first theory which I mentioned in my lecture, how outgoing and also shy we are. However, introversion and extroversion actually relate to where we get our energy from, how we recharge our brains. I have some characteristics here which clarify introverts and also extroverts. For example, introverts, or we can say those of us with introverted tendencies, tend to recharge by spending time alone, and also they lose energy from being around people for a long period of time. Particularly large, crowded, somehow relates to my character. And then extroverts is, on the other hand, gain energy from other people. Extroverts actually find their energy is sapped when they spend too much time alone. They couldn't, stay alone. They recharge by being social. Okay, in the 60s, we have another psychologist here, Hans Zeng, as actually Hans proposed that the differences between introverts and extroverts was that they simply had different levels of excitement, which means that to some extent our body and our mind, our bodies and our mind are alert and responsive to stimulation. Okay, hence, theory was that extroverts has a lower, basic rate of arousal. This means that, extroverts needs to work harder to arouse, their minds and also their body to the same normal state that introverts might reach quite easily. This, exactly leads extroverts to seek actually adventure and to crave the company of others. On the other hand, we have actually introverts. The rate of arousal, the rate of actually excitement is much higher. They are stimulated easily, and then they prefer to, conversation one-on-one. One-on-one, yeah, exactly. And then another thing is they prefer predictable situation. Yeah, these are very, pleasant for introverts. All right. These, become very especially interesting if we look at any other of the most common, elements of body language, and also how introverts and extroverts might think and understand, differently. This is very interesting. I have some tips for this one. And also on the same, notes for an introverts, they exercise, they want to, make a group sport, and then which makes them very happy in general. And exactly this might not lead to happiness in the same way it does for extroverts. Okay, I mentioned about body language, which somehow, extrovert and introvert can use. This one. Many people worry that they have to be exactly extroverted to use body language. So it means extroverted are easy, actually use body language easily. However, this is, far from the trust. Introverted also are able to control, body language to strengthen their interaction and also gain confidence. There are some tips actually for introverts. They need to pay attention. For example, I have found actually some tips. Take up a space. Don't cross your arms, and something like, for example, don't check your phone when you are nervous. It's very interesting for me. For example, the description of for this part is introvert tends to check their phone when they are nervous, but actually they try to carry something by themselves. This can be telephone, can be mobile, or even newspaper, but this actually put them right into defeated body language. Okay, body language can help us, engage people and also have better connection. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so you just ended your lecture in a weird way. I was taken by surprise. Suddenly you said, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So that was a pure example of an introverted person actually giving a lecture. I suppose you are, and yeah, you must be introverted, I suppose. But anyway,
But I'm not.
you're
Yeah,
not.
actually, somehow, no, I am. I
Mm-hmm.
am. But sometimes I think I'm not. That is the reason I just realized, yeah, we can be in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
Yeah, we
we
do
are, for
have the
example,
term ambiverted. You know,
ambivert.
ambiverted, yeah, means a person actually who is so. No.
So. No, I'm not so. I'm not so. I'm actually more in
Mm-hmm.
introvert. But yeah, sometimes I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm different being
As you
introverted.
yourself said, we don't have a pure example of introversion and also extroversion.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. And also the ending was really surprising. Then, so let me
Because
see.
I suddenly, saw my hey, there's no here, nothing.
Yeah, but if you want to give a lecture actually in a prestigious place, you should pay attention to the way you put an end to the lecture.
Yeah, I know I should have changed my tune,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't. Or, for example, use some words such as okay, generally, or in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I had something, to finish my lecture, but I didn't use.
Okay, that's okay. So, some mispronunciations. You said you should work on these predominant, interested. You said clearly answer. No, clear answer, because answer is a noun and clear. Well, you
Yeah.
should use an adjective.
Mm.
And you said that is Carl's Jung, not Carl's something else. You said it is Carl's
Uh,
Jung.
oh, because yeah, I start by J. I thought it is
Yeah, it
John.
is Germanic, and
Oh,
it
I
is
see.
Germanic, you know,
Yeah.
and he is a very famous philosopher and also psychologist, Carl Jung. And I told you about that
Oh, I
ambiverted,
got it here. It's
yeah,
very, yeah, I got it. I got it.
yeah, and ambiverted or something. As I said, we do have that term, and okay, if you want to be consistent with the American pronunciation, you should say research, and British English it is research. And also you have this problem pronouncing the or making the sound of th. The, for example, say theory, it's not theory, it's theory, and also strengthen. You said strengthen or strengthen or something, but it's a strengthen and theory. And
Strength.
also another proper name that you mispronounce, it's Hans Eisenk, not Eisenk. I think you said something else. It's
Oh, yes.
Eisenk. Yeah, another actually Germanic, maybe Swedish or Finnish. I'm not sure, but it is Germanic, or it belongs to the Germanic languages.
Yeah.
And
Poison or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. And that is arouse. You said arouse, and also arousal.
Oh,
Arouse and arousal, and pleasant, not pleasant, and finally strengthen. The rest was really good. Now I have this question for you. As actually, my first question was already asked. about whether you are an introverted or extroverted, and you explained about that. And let me see. I really like that part when you said that introverted people try to arouse themselves more easily, therefore they don't need to just socialize with so many people for the sake of arousal, and also they can recharge their brain and they can stimulate themselves. I am a perfect example of an introverted person. But I don't have any problem, introversion and extroversion, to be honest, actually it doesn't mean that a person who is introverted and actually that person is a social phobic, social phobia. He or she is suffering from social phobia. I don't have any problem communicating with people. What I really like to stimulate myself actually by focusing on something that is interesting. For example, watching a movie or even working on LELB society can stimulate me so much. It can give me a lot of arousal and excitement as you were talking about. And do you think that a person can change himself or herself from one of the extreme types of that spectrum?
You mean can change?
Yeah. Do you think it is possible to change yourself from, for example, a perfect example of an extroverted to the other side of the spectrum?
I don't think so, because it is something that related to your genetic. And actually we can, as you said, we can practice, and also we can change some parts of our character, because we willy-nilly have to talk to people. We need to, make communication, and this is actually somehow, relates to our job and, social relationship, something like this. We can, practice to achieve, some different points from other parts, but it doesn't mean we totally change from, for example, this part to others, because this is somehow, as I said, relates to our gene and who we are.
Exactly. Yeah. So we cannot completely change ourselves from one extreme side to the other, because as you said, it is more or less related to your genome and genetic structure, and also your information processing preferences. So you have some specific types of information processing models, and you are not perhaps aware of that. You yourself said that, for example, extroverted people try to recharge their brains in interaction with others, but introverted people try to recharge their brain all alone by themselves, by getting actually involved in something that is stimulating in isolation. So you cannot easily change the way you think, because it has been hardened over years, and you cannot, for example, all of a sudden overnight just change yourself. It's impossible. You can decrease or increase some degrees of introversion or extroversion, but the general issue is going to be the same, and it is good for you. Yeah, we are not suffering from multiple personality disorder.
We come back again, to our character. For example, if I have to face with someone today, and try to be different person, it doesn't mean I am different person. Because of that situation, I practice, some tips or some, for example, ways how can I increase, or as you said, or decrease, for example, that